Greetings and salutations, everybody. You are listening to another episode of Mama Rue's Ancestral Musings. I am Mama Rue, coming to you from the south side of Chicago, Illinois, United States. Today is Friday, and I hope everybody's had a good week. Mine was not that great due to the news of Freddie Gray's trial. All 6 police involved directly with his murder were let off scot-free without a single charge. I say murder because the coroner who examined the body of Freddie Gray ruled his death a homicide. How can it be ruled a homicide yet no one be left accountable for his death? And then closer to me, more local to me, we've had some tragedies here. Here in Chicago, New Era Chicago family will be putting some action to those things tonight, as a matter of fact. A young mother lost her life. The news reported it as some sort of drive-by shooting incident. The young woman was just celebrating her 5-year-old son's birthday that day and had just moved to the area. So it's a really, really terrible tragedy. We will be showing up in the vicinity of where that tragedy took place this evening. If you are local, check out New Era Chicago's page on Facebook for details if you would like to stand with us in solidarity. Today's topic is about being on your spiritual journey, using internet and social media as tools for information, and avoiding pitfalls. There are certain things that people tend to interface with or get caught up in that can render the whole process counterproductive, and I'm going to share those things with you today. One of the most common pitfalls that I have seen with people sharing information is the newcomer, the newly learned, who just learn something for themselves and they just cannot wait to share it. But they take it a step further and they position themselves as teachers or gurus, having not yet even experienced in a practical way or in a meaningful way the true wisdom of the information that they are trying to share and or teach with you, the unassuming public. It's very easy to make such an assumption if you are new to a certain type of knowledge, if you're new to certain information, and you don't really have a good feel of the territory or the lay of the land. And this is very, very a big deal on YouTube with the YouTube gurus, and it's also rather prevalent on Facebook with the Facebook doctorates. And especially in the groups, the groups are the worst offenders for this kind of thing. So I'm going to give you a little tip. Some of you may already be aware of this, but some of you may not be. So what I have found is that when people are new to something, they tend to try to share it and explain it to others, just like any zealot. I know a lot of you may be familiar with people who probably didn't grow up Christian, for example, and they become saved into Christianity as, young adults or, later on in life, and they are the worst offenders when it comes to zealotry. They are just so overjoyed and so happy, and they want everybody to be happy with them. And you can't just, say, yeah, sister, yeah, brother, you go ahead on. That's not enough to just, show them support. They want you to jump on their bandwagon with them. And so they they try to call themselves giving you what they think you don't know, or, teaching you things that they are assuming you have total ignorance of. You guys know the type. And it's the same with alternative religions, African traditional spirituality and traditions, diaspora traditions, the occult. I mean, all of it. It's the same mentality. It's the same attitude. And if you are not well versed in the things that they are putting forth, then it's very easy to put your trust into this person as, a guide or a teacher or even a guru, only to, get smacked upside the head with disappointment further down the road. So one way that you can help, see this before it's even coming is to look at their writing style. This is more obvious in the written language than it is in the spoken, but you can still kind of catch it when people are speaking, such as in podcasts like this and YouTube videos and other types of videos. And that is verbosity. If they hit you with a wall of text, paragraph after paragraph, and some poor people don't even know how to condense their words properly by breaking things up in paragraphs, so they just give you this huge wall of text. It's very hard in the eyes. When I see things like that, I do not read them. Even if it's legit info, I will not read anything presented in that way. It hurts my eyes. I can't deal with it. But usually, all that verbosity, when they could really, if they truly knew what they were talking about, and if they truly understood, they would be able to explain these concepts in a few sentences. And that is a sign of someone who really understands the things that they are sharing with the public. They can break it down so that a 4-year-old can understand it. That takes time. Okay? It takes time and experience and practice to get to that level of understanding where you can break it down to a 4-year-old, no problem. But people who are new to information, new to certain systems of knowledge, new to certain theories, they don't have that practical experience yet. So that wisdom isn't there when they try to share certain information. So no, they cannot break it down so where a 4-year-old could understand it. So let that be a red flag as you move along your path. And are accumulating data, accumulating information, wisdom. I have a lot of respect for seekers. This is not me trying to bash anybody who's new to something and is eager to share it. I mean, that's just being human. I don't put anybody down for where they are on their journey. I just take issue with people who are new, just like everybody else, but they want to seem like they got a leg up on everybody else, and that's just straight up ego. Spirituality has no room for that sort of thing. Okay, so when you see folks ego stroking and ego tripping, all that means is they have not arrived. They're still on their path, just like you. They may even be behind you. You're probably even ahead of them. All right, so that's one of the pitfalls. Another, and this one is more specific to the African traditions. Another pitfall is the infighting and discriminatory language that you may come across, particularly in online groups such as Facebook. There's a wonderful group called Orisha-Space on Facebook, and it is a wonderful place to get an initial introduction or an introductory understanding into Orisha tradition. Now, I do know that they do speak on or post about other traditions outside of Orisha tradition, because a lot of the members who are initiated into Orisha tradition are also initiated into other traditions that are not Orisha based. So it's a great place to get an introduction to a good number of different African and diaspora spiritual and religious traditions. However, be warned, okay, that a lot of times, and this is specific to Orisha tradition practitioners, you'll see a lot of heated debates and arguments and flaming and, all this kinds of thing, because you've got a person, one person may be from Africa, they may be in fact Yoruba, where Orisha tradition comes from, okay? It comes from that part of Nigeria that was known as Yoruba land or Ile-Ife. And these are Africans practicing the tradition of their people in communities where they were born in and grew up in. And so they, have that kind of perspective. This is all they know. This is their livelihood. This is their life. This is their lifestyle. And you see them interfacing with people who are descendants of the enslaved Yoruba of the diaspora, okay, people from, like, say, Puerto Rico, people from Cuba, people from Brazil, where Orisha worship and Orisha veneration is pretty prevalent. And so you see members from these different groups, arguing and debating each other. And if you don't really understand the nuances and the dynamics of these types of culture clashes, then it could put you off. It's very frustrating and very off-putting to witness these types of debates and heated, discussions that can get rather inflammatory at times. And, you have to be aware of the cultural dynamics at play here, okay? And if you have that understanding, then these types of things won't be so off-putting. They won't make you question, what is this, or if these are the people who are representing this tradition, I might think twice about getting involved because I don't want to be around this kind of energy, or you might just see something and run for the hills because it's just not a good vibration to see, and some, there can be some straight up animosity, hurled at people in these discussions. But just keep in mind that how things are done in one part of the world amongst one ethnic group or culture is not going to be the same point for point practice from a group in another part of the world with a totally different culture and totally different ethnicity. Okay? You have to understand that the diaspora interface with Christianity, in most cases Catholicism, okay, and that wasn't the experience of people in Nigeria or among the Yoruba, for example. So that's just one of the differences, okay? The people in Brazil, and Cuba and other places, they interface with Catholicism. They were dealing with the Spanish and the Portuguese, okay? So those nuances of Christianity are at a glance going to make things different than someone who didn't have to deal with Catholicism in that way, and they were able to practice the tradition without having to deal with all of that because they weren't enslaved by Catholics. Okay, so keep all of that in mind as you go forth learning more about African traditions. And then we come to another pitfall, and that deals with the money-grubbing charlatans. There are always debates and discussions about the cost of certain initiations, and these can get really sour real fast. A lot of it is just, like I said, the nuances and the dynamics of dealing with different groups and different cultures, okay? And this goes beyond just Orisha tradition. This is, for all diaspora initiatory traditions. There's no such thing as a free initiation, so let's just get that out of the way, okay? There is no such thing as a free initiation. All initiations that are legitimate, that come from real, lineages, do have a cost associated with them. And what that cost is, the area of contention for a lot of people. There's this prevalent notion that certain initiations that run up into, the five figures